Welcome to the 10th annual Shorecast. That's right. This is a big one for us. We've been around for 10 years now. I haven't been around with it for 10 years, but Shorecast has been around. And thank you for coming. This is great. For those who may not know, I'm Rami Pandit, Executive Director for the Lloyd D. Levinson Institute of Gaming, Hospitality, and Tourism. I know it's a mouthful, at Stockton University. Welcome again. Today we have a couple of things going on. First, we have a speaker, a very well-known speaker, and he's been phenomenal for the area. And you all know him, Anthony Cantanoso.
Let me just talk about Atlantic City for a minute. Over the last 2 years, I've given speeches in St. Louis, Washington, D.C., Philadelphia, and New York City. I've talked to travel writers, tour operators, travel agents about Atlantic City and what's happening. And in almost every city, the reaction was the same. We had no idea what's going on in Atlantic City right under our noses. Atlantic City's been the victim of some lazy reporting. Look, our numbers were so incredible for so long. Any detraction from that or any downturn in that, they were, the sky is falling. The place is going down the toilet. One guy, I sat with one investor, I'm trying to raise money for the pier. He said, "Are you kidding me?" He goes, "Look at that place. In 5 years, you're looking at Beirut." Now, that's the term he used. I said, "That's not the case. You have to look at the numbers." But they weren't looking at the numbers. So, here's my thing. I said, look, if 40 years ago, the original proponents of casino gaming came to us and said, listen, in 40 years, you're going to have the second largest gaming market in the country. $2.5 billion in gaming revenue, $2 billion in non-gaming revenue, 25 million visitors, over $1 billion in capital improvement, a university coming in, a first-class shopping center, a major housing project. How would that sound? We'd say, yeah. We'd say, hell yeah. Well, that's what we have today. The problem is we were actually almost double that for a while. So Atlantic City had lightning in a bottle, and like all good things, people are going to realize, wow, we want some of that. So they pried the lid off our bottle, and the competition poached half our business. But in reality, our business is still strong. People are investing. Now, some of our decline has been self-inflicted. Let's face it. Let's put it on the table. We had some self-inflicted wounds here. We built a mega resort, and by its own admission, had misguided marketing and bad debt. But that's coming back. We had properties that were popular and profitable, but because of some corporate maneuvering, without regard for the market or the people of Atlantic City, property was closed. And let me tell you something. That represented 24% of Steel Pier's market when that building closed. So that was a real kick in our butt. And then we had another property for 6 years under hedge fund management, just was mismanaged, treated poorly, and eventually when the mortgage holder took it over and started to turn the property around, it was hit by a strike, which closed it. That was 26% of our business. So we're sitting there in our little patch of the boardwalk. We lost almost 50% of our business with 2 closings. We didn't get much out of Revel because it was new, but 46%. But you know what? We didn't stop. We said, we need to do something different. We need to do something iconic. So we decided, we have to make this last somehow. And we know the market's there. In 2017, we had our worst year in business. But we had the best 4th of July weekend in our history. So what's that tell us? The market's still there. It's battered and it's bruised, but if you give them a reason to come, we know the market was still there. And I'll tell you, we really could see through all of our demographics, our exit surveys, that people still wanted family entertainment, still wanted something different from casinos. So this brings us to the observation wheel. We knew in Atlantic City that we needed an iconic attraction, something that had to be bigger, better, less seasonal, and something that people of all ages can enjoy. So the observation wheel seemed like the obvious answer. In closing, I have to tell you, the wheel has opened up to, and it's meeting all our expectations. Our ridership is great. The thing we're most excited about, it's become the centerpiece of the resurgence of Atlantic City. So you'll see it. We're seeing it in more print media as it goes along, and it's really it's really a good feeling for us to see something like this take hold. So I would invite all of you to come out and take a stroll on the boardwalk and ride the ride. Even if it's a little cold or a little warm, we'll take care of you because it's climate controlled. And just enjoy the Atlantic City, which is the original world's favorite playground. But thank you for your time. I appreciate it.
And folks, I'm certain that the wheel is going to do for Atlantic City what the eye has done for London. So good job, Tony. It's going to work. Now I'm going to take you to our esteemed panel here, and they're going to tell us a lot more about what's really happening. We have, unfortunately, Michael Bustler, our professor from Stockton, had an emergency and couldn't make it. But we have Mike Tidwell here from Stockton Seaview Hotel. He's going to represent the industry. He's the Director of Sales and Marketing here. Brian Terrell from Stockton University, Professor of Hospitality and Tourism. Diane Wheeland. Diane is Director of Cape May County Tourism Department. And Jim Wood, Chief Executive Officer, Mead AC. Jim Ziris, you're Vice President of Sales at the Tropicana. Thank you, gentlemen and ladies, for being here. We're looking forward to an exciting discussion today. Some of the 2017 numbers that we saw from the Division of Travel and Tourism and from the DGE. Visitation is up 2.3%. Tourism industry generated $45.4 billion in economic impact, up 2.9%. All positives thus far. Lodging accounts for about 28% of visitor spending. Average occupancies are up, which means despite the number of rooms available going up, occupancies are going up. That's a good thing. Atlantic City casinos finished 2017 on a positive 2.2%. Fantastic results. Those are what have been published. How did the local tourism industry do? And I know some of you were on the panel last year with us. So give me a feel, give the audience a feel of what you thought that the predictions were and how it really played out.
I'll touch on Tropicana. We are coming off a great 2017. Of course, there's a gaming revenue, but what's more passionate, that we're all passionate about here, is the retail, the entertainment, the dining, the lodging. And every one of our measurements were up year over year. You know, we kind of look at the summer season as Memorial Day to Labor Day, as many of you do. But just zeroing down on July and August, last July we ran 97.3% occupancy, and in August it was 98.0%. So that's with over 2,300 rooms. You love that length of stay because to get 1,800 checkouts and 1,800 check-ins can be a little operationally challenging. But our emphasis has been improving the customer experience. So that's with, again, new and improved rooms and new restaurants. So that we're continuing the path in 2018 for that as well.
One of the things that we have been really successful with is weddings. And so we saw a really strong year in 16-17, which is our fiscal year in weddings. And the nice thing is it's waterproof. So if it rains, the wedding is still going to happen. And so we know what our capture rate will be, and then we kind of can layer and plan on top of that. So it was really good in that respect. What we did see on the occupancy standpoint is traditionally we would fill on any given weekend, we'd be full 2 weeks prior, and the window was much shorter now. So where we were full 2 weeks prior, now it's 3 days. And so that window is closed. And then finally, the length of stay is down to about 1.5 nights here. So we'd like to extend that a little further. We can't put our finger on it yet, but could be partially weather driven. The weddings contribute to that as well because most of the weddings are just a one-night stay. So those were the dynamics. And finally, we did still maintain pricing power. So we were able to drive rate in all seasons. And so that's kind of the overall for last year that we saw.
There were a couple of exceptions throughout the state. Certainly Atlantic County was one of them. You know, some declines, marginal declines, 2.6%, I think, in lodging revenue, less lodging revenue last year. Of course, that's going to turn around this year with the opening of the new casinos. The total revenue should almost assuredly be up. The only other exceptions throughout the state to the positive news that we saw was really not all that negative. There were a few towns along the Delaware River, a few counties that had seen such exceptional performance the prior 2 years. Last year, 2016 with the Democratic National Convention, and the prior year with the Pope, that inevitably they were going to be a little bit down the following year. And I remember speaking with one hotel owner up in Cherry Hill, and he told me corporate just doesn't understand. The Pope doesn't come around every year.
In Cape May County, we have predicted, and we've always had a steady incline since records were first done with the Division of Travel and Tourism in 1994. Our tourism revenue was $2 billion, and at the time, people would say, billion with a B, because it was just a whole number that we didn't even think was happening in the tourism industry. We're now $6.7 billion industry, so, fast forward 23 years, we're doing very well. And we experienced a moderate increase. Why? Same as Brian said, was we had a 5% increase last year, and now we have a 1.4. And, but it's all positive. And where we saw our most growth was in food and beverage, and we were up in lodging. And we actually, when we do the counts, and I count everything, and some people say if you stand still too long in Cape May County, I'll count you, and that might be true. But we had more cars coming in through the Garden State Parkway, which is a barometer we use. So through the Great Egg Toll Plaza and the Cape May Toll Plaza, we saw about 88,000 more cars, but we didn't see them in the summer. And what was happening is July was a terrible month. The rain, just driving home that point that we're so weather driven and weather dependent. We had 12 days of either rain or overcast. The rain impacted the recreation and outdoor activities, which we're so dependent on. In Cape May County, we still rank the highest in generating recreation and outdoor revenue. We were down less than 1%, which was $6.6 million. So the rain certainly had a major impact on that. But when we look at it and we kind of dissect what's happening, we've been doing a really intensive fall campaign for about 5 years, bringing people back. And, we think it's the best time to be in Cape May County or to be in the entire region. The weather is still great, but we needed to make sure that our visitors who primarily think there's nothing to do after the summer, that we had to let them know that there is plenty to do. And what did we tie in? We tied in our beverage tourism. We have 7 wineries, we have 10 breweries and 3 distilleries. While they are not making a huge impact in the food and beverage, we look at them as our attractions and as a hook to bring people back and give them something to do. And we did a agritourism survey focusing on the wineries, breweries, and distilleries that helped guide us. And while we all thought that the breweries and distilleries, wineries were a millennial attraction, we found out that 55% of our visitors are still baby boomers. So, we were able to target using our research and spread the tourism season and allow us to still experience a moderate increase in tourism revenue in all of our sectors but recreation. And basically, we're going to continue on that to see, that this is a good place, this whole destination, with the gaming as well. We're giving people a lot of opportunities to come back in the fall and the winter and increase the visitation and visitor spending.
17 was a good, very, very good year in the group market. It's just a segment that we've been building on since the formation of Meet AC in the summer of 2014. And so it's really interesting what we do. We're long-range bookers. So we're selling Atlantic City up to 7 years out. And when we started in 2014, we were really very much a year to 18-month out destination in terms of convention sales. So we tweaked some strategies, made some adjustments, and right now I can tell you that we've got business on the books booked through 2025. And so we're really starting to see that growth, and that's what we're trying to do is layer business, book more business, and we've also been able to drive more business into the summer months. Last year was a very, very good year for us from a room night standpoint, from a booking standpoint, and just over 3.5 years now, we've booked just over 1 million room nights in the convention market. And so this is what what these guys would call cash rooms. They like cash rooms to augment their gaming customer. And we are funded by the CRDA, so from a analysis standpoint, for every $1 we receive from the luxury tax, we're now returning $48 back to the local economy. So we have a very, very good ROI. It's strong in the group market. We've also saw, and most of you know this, there's been a lot of investment by the properties to go after the group customer. We saw the addition of what happened at Harris with their Waterfront Conference Center, resorts, the Claridge, other properties have upgraded, the Borgata's added meeting space. So everybody's very, very bullish on the meeting space, and every property has reported back to us in 2017 that they've had growth in the meetings market. So we'll continue to do what we do. It's a market segment that is growing, but incrementally. We do have a few barriers here in Atlantic City, but we continue to work through those barriers regardless of the obstacles that we have. And we still see the group market to be a very, very flourishing, prosperous market for AC for years to come.
Thank you, Jim. That's good news indeed for 17. We just got to make sure that all those customers we booked 7 years ago know about the wheel that's coming up right there. Let's go on to 18. What do we predict for 2018's season and thereafter?
We've been selling 18 for the last 5 years, so it's really interesting. And as we continue to kind of position convention business in the Atlantic City Convention Center, and a little bit into Boardwalk Hall, and of course the hotel properties, the casinos are all going after the group market. 2018 is going to be a very good year for us. And I will tell you what our early returns are, and I'm going to even kind of jump a little bit. 2019 is looking very, very strong for us. So right now, one of the things that we measure through a trends analysis and projections report is to take a look at our growth and what's happening in terms of pace. So we are at about 105% of pace from where we were a year ago. So we've seen growth. And next year, we're at 122% of pace. So we know what's happening and trending right now is that we're seeing great demand, and we're having excellent conversion. Our conversion rates for this year are at 35%. Our competition's at about 27%. So that means we're booking 1 out of every 3 conventions is booking definite. Our competition is 1 out of almost every 4. So 18 is looking very, very good for us right now.
2018 already is off to a great start. Also, I head up the meetings, conventions, trade shows, banquets, and we're definitely sitting in a good spot right now. We're up year over year. We're up over budget. Summer months is more transient, it's more tourism, and then in the fall it takes off again. And whereas we're very proud of the repeat business that we do, because that's a true testament of did they have a good experience, are they rebooking? Jess is excited about the new business that's coming online. Some really strong pieces of group business that are booked for the fall that have not been with us in the past. But the corporate market really seems to be growing. So we're really happy about that.
The challenge here is the weekends behave. We get compression from Atlantic City, and as I said, the weddings are strong. But midweek, especially on the transient side, a property like ours struggles. The golf is a big draw, but that's where our work is in the summer, is really filling in the midweek. We're fortunate. We've got a lot of repeat group business. A lot of companies have been with Seaview for 25 and more years. So we have a nice advantage there. But so, as both Jims alluded to, group is important to us, especially because of how much midweek contribution they bring.
Last year, we conducted a visitor profile study in the Long Beach Island region, the LBI Barrier Island, and the mainland as well, in Southern Ocean County for the Southern Ocean County Chamber. There's a question that's on every visitor profile study: where did you stay when you were in town, if you stayed overnight? And we modified that question, whereas we normally ask a question, particularly along the Jersey Shore: did you stay in a rental apartment or condominium or home? This time we differentiated between one that was rented through a traditional real estate agent, which has been the norm in New Jersey for decades or longer, and differentiating between that and those that rented it through a shared economy service like VRBO or HomeAway or Airbnb or something of that nature. we were really surprised at the results on the island itself and on the Long Beach Island communities on the Barrier Island there. It was, I want to say about 23% of the total market had rented through, had rented a second home, condo, apartment. That was broken down into, I think it was 14% through a traditional real estate agent, but it was 9% through this VRBO, the Vacation Rental by Owner. And that was fairly significant. I suppose, that's just a snapshot. We don't know, is this detracting from the real estate listings or just adding to it? Certainly the idea that you could have more total visitors on a given day given the increase in supply is a very real thing, and there's a lot of the tourism sector that's going to benefit from having more individuals. But there remains the question of the occupancy tax that helps to fund some of the stuff that Diane and Jim and others do in terms of attracting visitors to the state. What's going on there? Airbnb, I understand, has recently come to agreement with at least Jersey City in the north, possibly Newark as well, to start contributing to that occupancy tax. So it'd be real interesting to see where this goes.
So let's talk about some economic impacts in terms of what areas should Atlantic City focus on to promote economic stability, sustained growth, transformation to a year-round destination.
I think Atlantic City's moving in such a great direction with the entertainment offering. And I know our summer entertainment schedule is the best I've seen since I've been there. And then you have the Hard Rock who's coming in, who's not afraid to put in acts like Counting Crows on a Thursday night. And I think that's going to help all of us. It's you've got people who normally wouldn't be in Atlantic City on a Thursday night, and they're going to be looking at, dining and going to the Steel Pier and going grab a margarita at Margaritaville, or maybe even coming over to the Quarter. So I'm really impressed with that entertainment and the some of the food and beverage offerings. Walking down the boardwalk from Tropicana, there's that new beer garden that if you haven't seen it yet, it's really impressive that the Bungalow Beach owners have put forth, and that's going to be a good experience. And the more of those options that we have for our customers, it is going to help extend the stay. I know, we talked earlier, you're always trying to get them a convention here. Our greatest win really is when they come here as an individual, attend a convention, and then come back with their family. And that's a real win for all of us.
One of the biggest changes that I saw in Atlantic City post Pennsylvania gaming in terms of the macro economy was a shortening of the season, if you will. And anecdotally, we hear, business was clustered around that weekend. So to the extent to which, we're going to have these entertainment options, new facilities to go view, observation wheels that are available on the shoulder seasons or midweek, I mean, that's a wonderful thing. And I think, I'm very optimistic, as I think most people are when they think about Atlantic City. And I think importantly as well, you've got new entrants to the market. You've got corporate entities that are coming into the Atlantic City market that have not done business there in the past. And that puts pressure on the existing businesses to upgrade their product and offer more entertainment. If they see it working midweek, they've got to try and make work midweek as well. So I think all this is very exciting and portends to some very positive things for Atlantic City.
And what can we do new? Whom can we bring in here to help continue to improve the economy, to diversify our economy? And obviously, the constant approach on leisure is so important. But right now, we're conducting a study on esports. We know that it's the fastest growing segment, and it's the second most participated sports segment of viewership to National Football League. And I could go on and give you a whole hour presentation on what's happening in the esports segment. But what we're looking to do is there an opportunity for Atlantic City to grow into this segment? Can we put together kind of an esports arena? What does that look like? Who do we work with? Who would we partner with? There's about 12 to 15 primary video games that people play online worldwide. And this is a new economy that's emerging, that has emerged, that some of you may have kids that play video games, and you're probably saying, get off the games, go outside and play. And now you've got teams being formed, and you've got NFL franchises that are hiring players, NBA teams hiring players. And some of these franchises that are starting off are at the tune of $20 million. And we see prize money anywhere between on a low-end, small weekend tournament of $5,000 to a national tournament that might be at Staples Center in Los Angeles with $1 million prize money. It's a whole new business opportunity that we're looking at. And if we're successful with that, we see a great opportunity to attract a lot of esports tournaments, pushing that business throughout the local area so that everybody gets a piece of the action. We want to see them, at the Steel Pier. We want to see them at the Trop. We want to see them on the golf courses when they're not participating, and really be a hub here on the East Coast for that segment of business.
What I want to talk about is when you talk about expanding and our opportunities, we're not so much into the esports, but just sports tourism has become huge in our area. It's basically shoulder season events. When you have Delmo Sports, who does Escape the Cape, and you have 2,500 people jumping off the back of the Cape May Lewis ferry, I mean, that's amazing. Another one, Tony, I wouldn't do that either. But, when you see that there's 25 participants, but they come with their families, their fans, their, friends who cheer them on. And it's a triathlon that, takes over a day. It's now has a children's component to it. You can get in any part of this, and it's an entire weekend. And as we see them build up and fill in our shoulder season weekends, we are seeing more and more people coming. And it's like, what else are they doing while they're here? They're at the restaurants, they're at the retail shops, they're, at our attractions. We're seeing ecotourism. It's a $600 million industry in Cape May County. I mean, who knew how many people in this whole country that are interested in birding and how important it is to our area? When you think about, the World Series of Birding, which is taking place this week, it's in its 35th year, and they have sponsors from all over the world. Nikon camera, Leica, Swarovski Crystal. These are all corporations that are sponsoring and bringing teams from around the world to Cape May County, to find how many birds can they identify in 24 hours. And while it's throughout the state of New Jersey, it's pretty much based right in Cape May County, in the city of Cape May. And these are the things that we need to work, and we work to, make our visitors know that these are, we're in the top 3 birding hotspots in North America. And, there's only 2 places that have, in the country, that has a tourism infrastructure that's so close to a birding hotspot. So you can be at a spa in the morning, you can have gourmet dinner, and you can bird in the afternoon. I mean, these normally when they're birding, they're going to, they're roughing it and hiking and camping, in pursuit of that bird or to add to their life list. We have it all, and they can spend their evenings at the entertainment in Atlantic City. There's the dining, there's the gaming. So now we've expanded it and giving these birders who are spending a lot of money in pursuit of identifying birds, and they're spending a lot of money elsewhere in supporting the tourism industry. So that's really important when we look at the summer season. Just gets shorter and shorter and shorter. Our businesses can't make the money in a 10-week, especially if you have a rainy July, but they can make dollars if they stay open longer, and they support these other eco and agritourism attractions that we have. So that's kind of what we're doing to expand and make sure that, we are bringing our visitors back. We have 41% of our summer visitors come back in the fall, 15% come back in the winter. So it's a growth area, and we still have plenty of, work to do to make that, make us more of an 8-9 month season for Cape May County. And, little steps at a time, always baby steps, but, we are seeing an increase. So that is what we're doing here, and I think that it works to expand when we look at Atlantic County and Cumberland County as well.
Well, thank you. So before I open up to questions from the audience, there's one last thing that I'm sure everybody wants to talk about. SCOTUS has shot down PASPA, and what is the impact going to be? So I'm going to open it up for the panel to talk about what is sports betting going to do for Atlantic City. Everybody wants to know about that.
Jimmy,
jump on
The
that.
crystal
There you
ball, the crystal ball says, I'm not going to kid you. We're not going to be ready in 2 weeks like the Meadowlands is talking about. We're definitely going to see how the regulations pan out, but there has definitely been preparation. We are very excited. Yesterday was a big day for Atlantic City and state of New Jersey. And even without it, you come down and see the crowds in Chicky and Pete's in a damn good sports bar during a Thursday opening of an NCAA tournament, and it tells you. And I've been out in Vegas during those times and for the Super Bowl and the NCAA tournament, and we will get visitors here, and they will eat and they will drink and they'll play some bets. What that looks like, I think we're all waiting to see. Is it going to be a lot of a mobile platform, or is it going to be a lot of parlay bets, or is it going to be strictly, the Eagles, covering 3.5 points on the Dallas Cowboys and some of the other things that you're used to seeing in Las Vegas? So I think this is just tip of the iceberg, and it's definitely good news for Atlantic City.
When you look at Las Vegas and their gaming revenues, the sports books are not an overwhelmingly large percent of the gaming revenue. I think it's
about
less than-
2%.
Yeah, it's fairly small, and even at the bigger sports books, some of them invest a little bit more in that. It's still not cracking that 10%, still in the single digits. But importantly, the individual that sports book opportunity brings in is oftentimes traveling with a group of friends. They're going over and they're playing the table games, they're playing the slots, they're eating in the restaurants, drinking in the bars, taking advantage of the entertainment and making a real trip out of it. And like you said, you head out to Vegas during the Super Bowl weekend or the NCAA tournament or any of the finals, and that's what you see. You see large groups of friends getting back together to watch their favorite sports teams, and make a weekend out of it.
It's a segment all in its own. But if and I've been to Las Vegas on, and we'll say any given Sunday, it doesn't matter. You'll see the bars that you have to have a reservation for and a minimum spend. That's a gaming bar, and the reservations and they're booked. You can't even walk up and get and walk in. And so you walk the streets of Las Vegas on a Sunday, and you'll see every NFL jersey represented by the hundreds and thousands. It is a huge draw. So it's an incremental segment. It's a great segment for Atlantic City to be able to capture. And I believe that there's still a lot of legislation that still has to be worked out. Things that they are talking about is they don't want to see individual betting, and I might be speaking out of turn, but they don't want to see people being able to bet on who catches the first ball, who makes the first field goal. The NFL and NBA and NHL and NCAA, they don't want all that individual stuff that is out there. It's gonna be one loss on the game. So there's still much work and still much things to be done legislatively to manage that. So I really think what they're trying to do now is try to come up with a one law for the United States so that each individual state doesn't have different rules and regulations when it comes to sports gaming. So I think there's still more to learn. There's still more legislation and more governance that's going to take place before this really takes off for anybody.
I'm going to open it up to the audience for questions for the panel.
Hello, Earl Hart, the AC Times newspaper. Diane, the last couple of years you have had, during your presentation, you've mentioned how you want the southern Cape May County and Atlantic County and some of the other counties to start doing more cooperative marketing or cooperative regional types of promotions. Now that we've lost the Do AC campaign, have you had any discussions with Atlantic County or any of the other counties about how you all can combine your marketing budgets for better reach?
Yes, actually, we did work with Atlantic City Economic Development Group, and we worked for a year with them. We are doing more of an awareness campaign that, this is a large destination and has so much to offer the visitor. We were doing more of the co-op advertising. We do co-op with Cumberland County, Atlantic County, and Cape May County, and we're seeing that movement continue. We need our visitors to know that there's a lot more to do and a reason to come and stay longer. So that benefits all of us, yes. So we are continuing to work with them. And last year we had a real campaign that we were marketing as a full destination through our DMO and, New Jersey Southern Shore, and we included Atlantic, Cape May, and Cumberland County. We always ask in our surveys how many visitors, did you go to Atlantic County or Atlantic City, especially because of the gaming and the entertainment. And we find 11% of our visitors do go there. They do go to Atlantic County. We know that, those who are interested in the wineries and the breweries are certainly moving around the 3 counties, also the ecotourism. So that's where we started. You're coming a long distance, you're traveling, on average 3 hours, 300 miles, and while they're here, let's move them around. So when we're out marketing at travel shows, especially when we're in, Canada or Cincinnati, people are, the further they drive, the longer they stay, and we need to fill their days so they stay and have something to do. People aren't necessarily only about beaches. That might be the draw and the hook that gets them here, but they're looking for other things to do. And the best way we can do that is to open up this whole region as a destination that, an easy drive to experience a lot of different things or to enhance the experience that you came for.
Kind of following up on that timing issue on sports betting, isn't it likely that the real big winners, at least in the first few months, will be Monmouth Park and the Meadowlands? They seem ready to really get into it big time. The money's there in both locations. And if they are successful in getting sports betting implemented very quickly, they will begin to advance an argument within their own framework of, now that we have sports betting, why don't we also try to lobby the state to get some slot machines here at these 2 racetracks in order to make it a more full-body gaming experience? So is that something that our local casino industry has really thought through, and shouldn't that motivate them to get into this as quickly as they can?
My thought is we're absolutely in uncharted waters right now, right? So, but to Brian's point, and it's not a big revenue producer, but it can drive overnight stays. It can drive weekend stays of 10, 20 people coming down at a time. So whereas the gaming revenue on the sports is just a piece of that. Meadowlands might not be positioned to stay overnight and have spa treatments and restaurants and everything. It's a piece of the overall experience, in my opinion.
The only thing I would add is, Tony, you're 100% right. To the extent to which we can get to the table quicker than our neighboring states in particular, I think that, that stands to really position New Jersey to establish itself in the arena of sports gaming on the East Coast. And gather an aim for itself, maybe work with some of the partners that are involved in the industry a little bit better, try and convince them, that New Jersey is the place where they should set up operations for the East Coast. All of that kind of, plays on itself. And I think to the extent to which we can be the first mover, I think it'll really go a long way.
Hi, this is actually a question, I guess, specifically for Atlantic City. What's being done to promote the pedestrian experience from one new attraction to the next new attraction?
Since we don't really have a leisure effort in Atlantic City right now because there's no funding for that, that is a challenge for us. Yeah. Right now, what we do is we're certainly pursuing the group market and the people coming in for conventions and that nature. For more on the leisure side, there isn't much, unless we talk a little bit about the ambassadors that work the boardwalk and work some of the streets that are available out there from the Special Improvement District and all that. Outside of that, that's about all that we have right now that exists that's helping people navigate that. We still see most people find the boardwalk, and they're either at the walk or on the boardwalk. And it does slight some of the other attractions. There's no question that we just don't have the manpower on the streets right now to help aid that more than what we would like to.
If I can just add to that a little bit, there's a couple of things that are occurring at a very micro level scale in Atlantic City that are kind of exciting. The Little Water Distillery opened up last year. There's a few things going on in Tennessee Avenue, which is, a very challenging block. But, I was down there on graduation day with some of my colleagues to, is it Made Atlantic City? They make their own chocolates, has a little bar. I had an adult chocolate milk, which was really good. I understand there's a beer garden going in there later this year and a couple other exciting things. So, I think
48 blocks.
yeah, I think what you're going to find is that, with the reinvestment of these large corporations in Atlantic City, you're going to see some entrepreneurs that are breaking out and, trying to make it on their own. And to the extent to which they do, and they are successful, to the extent to which Tennessee Avenue is a success, that's great. It's going to add to the experience. It's going to give folks a reason to come back and, really improve the destination. I think that's great.
And the best thing that we can do that we offer is we do have a visitor center at Boardwalk Hall. And when individuals do come to the visitor center, they're able to share with folks and connect the dots of what you just mentioned in terms of those attractions. And then the visitor center that is right on the expressway for those who still stop and go there. Those are probably the points where individuals who are new to Atlantic City and want to kind of get out and see different sites. Those are the best places for our visitors to go to at this time.
Thank you. A big hand for the panel, folks, and thank you, Tony.